I'm going to talk about how to divide decimal numbers with a whole number divisor. Now, the main difference between doing long division with whole numbers and doing long divisions with a decimal in your dividend is that you just look at this decimal and you put a decimal right above it in your answer. And then everything else is the same, pretty much. So let's go through this one. 5 goes into 8 one time, my division step. Does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Okay, so that's my division step. And multiplication step is 1 times 5. My subtraction step is 8 minus 5, that's 3. My checking step is to make sure 3 is less than 5, and it is. My bring down step is to bring down 6. Then I divide all over again. 5 goes into 36 7 times. Notice that I put the numbers, I line the numbers up perfectly. My first digit goes above this digit, 8. 5 goes into 8 one time, and then this digit goes here. So this way my decimal ends up in the right place. So make sure that the numbers are lined up properly. So my multiplication step is 7 times 5, that's 35. And then I subtract and I get 1. I check. 1 is less than 5, so that's good. Then I bring down the 5. And 5 goes into 50. That's my division step, is to see how many times 5 goes into 15. And that goes in 3 times. And my multiplication step, 3 times 5 is 15. And then my subtraction step is 15 minus 15, that's 0. And I check, that's less than 5, so that's okay. And there's nothing to bring down, so that's my answer, 1.73. Okay, so this one, same thing. I see this decimal here in my dividend, and I just put a decimal right above that. I just bring it up. So 3 goes into 2 0 times. That's my division step. 0 times 3 is 0. That's my multiplication step. My subtraction step is 2 minus 0. I get 2. I check that. That's less than 3, so that checks out. And I bring down a 5. My division step again is 3 goes into 25 8 times. Notice I'm putting the 0 above this 2, the 8 above this 5. Then the decimal goes exactly where it should be. It only works if you line up these numbers properly. Notice I did not put the 8 here. I put this 0 here as a placeholder to make sure that I put the 8 over the 5 and didn't put it, first. My multiplication step is 8 times 3, that's 24. I subtract and I get 1. I check that, that's less than 3. And then my bring down step is to bring down the 2. And then I divide all over again. 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. And I have no remainder. My answer is 0.84. So now I'm going to do another one, but this one will have a remainder, and I will show you what to do if you have a remainder and how to get rid of the remainder. So I'm going to write, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers up here, just as a reminder. And I see a decimal right here on my dividend, so I put it up here in my answer, in my quotient. 8 goes into 9 one time. 8 times 1 is 8. I subtract, and I get 1. I check that, that's less than 8. And then I bring down the 7. Okay, now I divide all over again. 8 goes into 17 2 times. 2 times 18 is 16. That's my multiplication step. I subtract, I get 1. 1 is less than 8, so that checks out. Then I bring down the 2. Now I divide all over again. 8 goes into 12 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. That's my multiplication step. I subtract and I get 4, and then I bring down, there's nothing to bring down. So do I say 12.1 remainder 4? No, never. We do not have remainders with decimals. So here's what you do. I'm just going to extend this out a little bit, and I'm going to add a 0 to my dividend. Now, since this is a decimal number, I can add as many zeros as I want. It does not change the value, but it does help me to get rid of this remainder. So now I can bring down this 0. So I bring down the 0. It goes into 40 5 times. The 5 goes above the 0 that I added. I multiply. 5 times 8 is 40. And then I subtract them. I get 0. Now my remainder is 0, and I can stop. My answer is 12.15. So adding a decimal and getting rid of the remainder in a situation like this by adding zeros to your dividend, those are the two new things we learned today. Now here are some problems that you'll also see on the homework, where they have a blank and you have to fill in the blank. So this problem is blank divided by 5 is 1.21. So blank divided by 5 is 1.21. We need to figure out what this dividend is. Well, if you know that division is actually the opposite of, it's backwards multiplication, really. So you can think about this as 121 times 5 equals this blank. And that's what's going to go in here. So I'm going to multiply that, or 1.21, not 121, times 5. So I'm going to multiply that. 5 times 1 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. There are 2 digits after the decimal in 1.21. There are 0 digits after the decimal in 5. I add them together, and I get 2. I put my pencil here, and I go 1, 2. Boop. My answer is 6.05. That's what goes here, 6.05. Now, I'm going to test that out. I'm going to divide 6.05 by 5 and see if I get 1.21. 6.05 divided by 5. So I have a decimal here. I put that up here. 5 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract. I get 1. That is less than 5, so that checks out. I bring down the 0. 5 goes into 10 2 times. Notice I'm lining these numbers up. 1 goes above the 6, 2 goes above the 0. 2 times 5 is 10. That's my multiplication step. I subtract. I get 0, which is less than 5, so that checks out. Then I bring down a 5. 5 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. I subtract. I get 0, and I'm done. And 6.05 divided by 5 is indeed 1.21, so this is correct. Now, here's another type of problem where the blank is in a different spot. I have 10.85 divided by blank equals 1.55. Now before, I was missing my dividend. Now I'm missing my divisor. I can't multiply these together because you can only multiply the quotient and the divisor to get the dividend. Basically, two smaller numbers multiplied together make the bigger number. But what you could do is realize that these two numbers are interchangeable. If I divide by 1.55, I will get this number. If I divide by this number, I will get 1.55. So I can switch these and make this into 10.85 divided by 1.55. My answer, whatever that is what will go in this blank. Because once again, as a student pointed out to me today, I keep saying that multiplication is division backwards, like this. Well, we know in multiplication, because of the commutative property, we can switch these. And so that's why we're able to switch these. Okay. Now, here's the thing. There is a way you can divide a decimal by a decimal, but we have not gone over that in class yet. We only talked about dividing a decimal and a whole number. So I'm not going to do that with this problem. Instead, what I'm going to do is guess and check. I'm going to take 1.55 and I'm going to multiply this by 5 and see if I get something close to 10.85, and if not, I will adjust it. I'm going to guess and check. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. There are 2 digits after the decimal here. There are 0 digits after the 5, and I get 2 digits after the decimal. So I put my pencil here and I go 1, 2, boop. 7.75 is quite a bit less than 10.85. So it's too small. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to try 7. 1.55 times 7. Now, if there's a problem just like this on your homework, I would suggest you guess and check just like I'm doing now. 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 5 is 35 plus 3 is 38. 7 times 1 is 7 plus 3 is 10. There are 2 digits after the decimal here. There's 0 digits after the decimal here. I add them up, I get 2. I put my pencil here and I go 1, 2, and I get 10.85, and that's exactly the right answer. So it's 7, which means 7 goes here. I divide 10.85 by 7 to get 1.55. Okay, now I'm going to test that out. I'm going to take 10.85 divided by 7. I'm going to see if I get the same answer, if I get 1.55. Okay, 7 goes into 1 0 times. I'm lining everything up perfectly. It's very important when you have a decimal. 7 goes into 10 1 time. 1 times 7 is 7. I subtract, I get 3. I bring down the 8. 7 goes into 38 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. I subtract and I get 3. I bring down the 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. I subtract, I get 0. There's nothing to bring down, and I get 1.55 just as predicted. And this is correct. 7 is correct.